Good morning, everyone. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity to be discussing my research. As mentioned by Dr. Crafford, the title is Value Management in the Quantity Surveying Profession. To start off today, I'll first be discussing my introduction. Then I'm going to do a literature on my topic. After that, I'll broadly quickly discuss the methodology that I used. Then I'll also show you some results and findings from relating back to my literature. And then I'll end up with a conclusion, make some recommendations, and then the floor will be open for questions. Sir Colin Marshall, chairman of the British Airways, once remarked that a book is read from the start, usually, to the end, whereas a business works the opposite way around. You normally start at the end and do everything you can to reach it. This is, in essence, one of the core concepts of value management. So now you're probably thinking, well, what is value management then? Well, value management identifies what the client perceives as value in terms of benefits of a project, and then follow the application of various techniques to actually maximize those benefits, and also at the same time minimizing the resources available. Previous research that's been done was, for instance, especially abroad, they compared value management theory to the practice itself, also discussing various value management practices. And then also there was, for instance, there was research done on identifying key competencies are needed for value management in order to do a study. There is therefore limited research on value management in the quantity surveying profession in South Africa. However, one guy, Mr. Bowen, has done some research on value management in various industries, such as manufacturing, and a little bit on the quantity surveying industry as well, but I found it limited though. In the 2013 Tariff of Professional Fees, the South African Council of Quantity Surveying Professions actually mentioned value management as a service that can be provided to clients. Due to the fact that quantity surveyors are seen as very well reckoned with cost management, and due to the fact that the SACQSP claim that value management can be a service provided by quantity surveyors, it was seen important to investigate value management in the quantity surveying profession. The objectives of my study would therefore be firstly to determine the extent of value management in the quantity surveying profession, also to determine understanding and general knowledge of it and how people perceive it to what it is. Then lastly, to determine the value management competence level quantity surveyors held. Alright, firstly, a lot of people sometimes get confused between what is value management and what is value engineering. It's simple. Value management focuses on a broad spectrum of aspects, which is, for instance, performance, cost, quality, and time. Value engineering is more seen or is more focused on only cost-cutting exercises. Therefore, value engineering is seen also therefore as a subset of value management. Now, according to a lot of literature, going to my literature also now, it is broadly mentioned that value management should be implemented in the inception stage of a project life cycle already to gain maximum benefits, as can be seen there on the graph. Now, there are various methods of value management, being a job plan, contractor's change proposal, orientation method, the value engineering method, but there's only one that is really considered as an authentic value management method, which is the job plan. It consists of focusing on all the broad aspects and focuses of value management as identified earlier. There's also various value management objectives, which are things like reducing capital cost, project functionality, optimization of value, and to reduce project duration. Now, optimization of value should be, according to a lot of literature, should be the main focus when you look at objectives. Now, when looking at various value management competencies, there was three broad standards that were taken, and out of that extracted a lot of competencies that is needed. The competencies can be divided up into hard and soft competencies. Now, hard competencies are normally your more technically oriented skills, where soft competencies are more your human dynamics and behavior. So the hard competencies would be that I identified, for example, just a few examples was things like the principles and application of methods, function, cost analysis, creativity methods, the evaluation of processes and presentation, where a lot of examples that are used for soft competencies was, for instance, communication, team leader roles, and promoting value in a value culture and things like that. Now, the methodology that I used in my study was I used quantitative data, which is data that can be measured numerically. Then a survey technique was used via electronic questionnaire. This web survey was basically emailed to all the various quantity surveyors registered with the SACQSP. A covering letter was also included, and yes, the questionnaire itself was divided up into 3 sections, which relates back to my objectives. The first section was more the demographic profiles of the potential respondents. Second one was to determine an understanding and use of value management, and the third one was to identify the competence level of value management held by quantity surveyors. Now, on my results, 100 questionnaires were answered. The response rate was only 10.98%. With the email sending, a lot of the times emails bounce, and so, but in the end there was about 900 emails that did go through. So this is only an estimate of the response rate. When asked about the awareness of value management of all these respondents, 88% said they are aware of value management. 12% said they're not aware at all. When asked about the use of value management in their company, 59% actually, which is 59 respondents, actually said they are using value management, which is very interesting. And then the fact that only 25% of those people indicated that they do follow some sort of recognized organizational standard, being the SAVE International Standard, Australian Standard, or the British or European Value Management Standard. Now, when asked about when they implement value management and what project stages or the life cycle, it seemed like 80% of the respondents only indicated that they use it in the detailed design stage. That clearly shows also that the potential benefits, maximized benefits, can't be reached if it's only started in the detailed design. On the various methods I indicated as relating back to my literature, there's more methods that I mentioned to them as well, but on these methods, the value engineering method was mostly referred to as that they actually use it. Also the orientation method, the contractor's change proposal, and then the job plan. Now the top 3 methods they used is seen more as traditional value engineering methods rather than the authentic value management method itself, which is the job plan, which also shows then that maybe they might be referring to value engineering rather than value management. In terms of the objectives, the reducing capital cost was rated as mostly seen as their main objective, with the rest to follow. And then when looking at the value management competencies, I gave them a ranking from 1 to 7, 1 being that they don't recognize the value management competency at all, and then 7 being that they say and claim that they do actually have fully mastered the competency. Now, just to summarize, out of all those various hard and soft competencies, there was 15 hard competencies and about 11 soft competencies. The average rating for the hard competencies was 4.08, and for the soft competencies was 4.25. This a rating of 5 basically indicated that the quantity surveyors possess little of the competency and also just knows what it entails of, instead of actually being able to apply it or having that competency fully. Now, to conclude, firstly, only 22% of the respondents claim to use value management in their company, and value management in their company confirmed by, basically they only use the job plan method. Also, their main focus was more reducing capital cost, which is most frequently their objective. This displays that mostly they were referring to value engineering in their objectives and methods. Also, because of the fact that there wasn't one specific method that we're actually using, it also claims that there's no certain way of certain exact method that they are using, even though theory tells us it should be the job plan method. The fact that value management is less likely to occur in the inception stage also displays a lack of understanding maybe of value management. Hard and soft competencies are not fully mastered by quantity surveyors. Therefore, the tasks cannot be carried out to its full potential. Also, the general lack of knowledge and competence highlights a lack of value management expertise in South Africa. Now, before the SACQSP actually say that value management should be seen as a service that quantity surveyors can provide, they must first establish what value management actually is and set some sort of a benchmark that can be followed, and how to, in essence, how to procure a value management study. Or otherwise, some sort of institute should be formed. Once knowledge and expertise are reached by quantity surveyors, they can actually promote value management to clients, and therefore it should be and can be claimed for in the tariff of professional fees. The reshaping of the traditional image of a quantity surveyor can therefore be changed into a more marketable position among other professions. Further studies should be done on how to reshape the quantity surveyor's profession with regard to value management. Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, sure. Thanks, Henno. Good presentation. I just want to find out, in terms of one of your sections was demographics, and your interpretation of the demographics, you didn't really touch on that.
Yes.
What did you find in terms of the demographics and the use of, does it change various different areas in the country? Or?
I did see a change in it, especially value management with the people that actually did follow a proper value management study, like for instance a job plan. That was seen more in Joburg specifically, and then also with the demographics. I didn't focus a lot on it, but the nice thing about my demographic profile is that I think it was 58% of the people that responded had more than 18 years experience in the quantity surveying industry. And also about 53% of those people were either senior directors or directors of their company. Also, yes.
Thank you. I think you did a very good presentation. I think you answered my question.
Sorry? You just made a general comment. There's a general lack of knowledge of value management. Did you actually test the knowledge on the various methods that they use?
Yes. This was just some of my results. There was a lot of questions asked on the various tools, and I can actually show it to you, but there was a lot of questions asked on the various tools, what they use, and like for instance tools like life cycle costing, value analysis, various tools, and a lot of the times they tend to not use some of those tools. Most of the times it seemed like they actually just they saw value management just maybe as another value engineering, or they saw it was clear that they saw it more as just a cost-cutting exercise. So of all the tools that you used of cost-cutting, they use that, but when it comes down to trying to get overall value over the life cycle of the project, or this or that, examples like that, then they actually didn't say that or very little people actually used other tools.
And internationally, knowledge generally?
Yes, the three basic standards that are used currently, the one is in Australia, the other one is in the US, and the other one is in Europe. There was about, out of the 100 respondents, I think there was only, I should have mentioned that, there was only 14%, which was about, it was 14% that claimed they follow some benchmark, international benchmark, but only 6 of those 14 people mentioned that they follow either one of those benchmarks. But saying that, none of them were registered to any sort of value management institute or benchmark.
Just one or two questions. Do you regard the response rate of 10% as reasonably acceptable?
Well, considering value management not being so well known throughout our country, I thought that I'd focus on, well, I emailed it to various 900 people, but I thought the people that at least that will answer it would sort of at least know something about it. So due to the fact that my response rate was only rounded off to 11%, shows already also their lack of knowledge, because if people see the topic value management, then I think a lot of the times they thought, I don't know what this is, and I had I had about 20 people, or 20 odd people saying, sorry, we have no idea what value management is about, so therefore we're not going to, yes. So, but I think, yeah, considering the topic value management, I felt like it was good enough, the response, right?
Yeah. Just assume that in your comments, but you obviously elaborate on the methods.
Yes, yes.
Competencies. You just mentioned your heart and soft.
Yes, yes. I mentioned all of them. It was a long list of competencies, but I just didn't want to bore all of you with that. So.
Sharon?
No questions, as a comment. You did well.
Floor? Professor Leroux?
Thank you very much, Professor Crafford. Thank you, Mr. Cronje. Very good.
Thank you.
You know, the old-fashioned QS would say that value management is an inherent part of QS services. We don't question it. We just do it because it's to the benefit of the client.
Yes.
But most of the presentations today have led me to believe that nobody must mess around with age and experience, because so many of the respondents are, you know, rather senior, let me be polite,
Yes.
which is of great value, of course, to researchers. But what makes value management difficult for the QSs who actually focus on it and talk about it and present it as something that they are doing? Did you look at anything like that?
Well, the thing is that makes it difficult, I think, is to use the proper job plan. It takes time. It's a 40-hour job plan, and there's various steps where how can I say, it starts off by first identifying various benefits, and you go through different phases, look at alternatives to find. So I think the fact that value management is actually quite a thorough process that you should follow. I think people don't realize that, and then they say they do value management, or they get value for the client because they can give comments on, you know, using cheaper methods or things like that. But where they should actually then rather say they do value engineering than value management.
Exactly. I was just going to say that fits into the cachet of value
Yes.
engineering.
Yes.
All those processes, looking at alternatives, looking at cost-benefit analysis, looking at a selection in terms of whole life appraisal, and so on. That's where you go into a huddle for a week.
Yes.
In a fashionable resort, and you really thrash out everything that's
Exactly,
been
yeah.
provided. But when you get a line drawing only, which is the absolute curse when it's presented to inexperienced quantity surveyors by an architect or engineer with whom they have not worked frequently, so they can't guess ahead
Exactly.
what their standards are going to be.
Yes.
That's almost impossible to employ
Yes.
as far as value management is concerned. Are you looking at any recommendations to do with that?
Well, that's why, due to the fact that with value management, the best way to implement or use it is to use everyone and to bring everyone together and go, like you kind of mentioned there, using a work job or work process where you try and everyone comes together and they try and find alternatives, right? But that's also maybe one of the concerns, and I didn't look into the various other professions with regard to the architects and engineers and that. But if a quantity surveyor could be, so if a quantity surveyor himself can equip himself in understanding it properly and know what the phases are and how to implement it, then himself can solely try and implement it and make more sense out of it to them by trying to promote it, and therefore to promote it to the client and all of that also.
Yes, and also to spend time doing it, because one of our undergraduates worked in Durban during the July holidays. And the first day he went into the office at 8 o'clock in the morning, and he discovered everybody else had been there from 5.
Yes.
And when he packed up to leave at 5:30 in the afternoon, he discovered everybody was working on until 9.
Yeah.
So you've got to be prepared to put in a great deal of extra time
Exactly.
for a service then, which is not reflected in the tariff of fees,
Exactly.
which you raised.
Yes.
But value engineering, is that in the tariff of fees?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is as far as I've got it. Yeah, but it is also. So yeah.
Exactly. And value engineering, who will authorize that? The client?
Exactly.
In the client QS agreement, which
Yes.
is a marvelous document.
Yes.
So as your principal agent, you can actually engage the client on services to be provided. Now,
Yes.
let's say the client agrees. This is just a nice question. Let's say the client agrees that you will do a specific value management service, not value engineering, and says, by the way, include it on your fee invoice. How will you charge for that? Which method of charging a fee will you apply?
Well, specifically, if I refer to the tariff of professional fees,
You can't, it's not there.
Yeah, but because of value management, because in the 2013 tariff of professional fees, it is actually there.
Value management?
Yes.
Well, that's why I asked you.
Yes.
Is there a fee in the tariff? Your statement was there is no fee for value management in the tariff.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But there is for value engineering. So make
yeah.
the distinction
Alright.
extremely clear.
Yeah, okay, so they refer to value engineering as well, but they also refer to value management as a service, and that's why I did this whole study to investigate to what extent quantity surveyors actually understand value management and if they can actually claim value management as a service. Because in the tariff of professional fees, they claim it to be a service, and therefore, if you take your total fee that you normally propose for the normal quantity surveying fees, then they add another 25% to that, as far as I know.
There is a fee, but just check.
Okay.
It's either value management or value engineering.
Okay.
And
Right.
value engineering is definitely
Yes.
there.
Yes.
So just have a look at that.
All right.
And also the three methods of claiming are first of all a lump sum, agreed with the client.
Yes.
Secondly, a percentage agreed with the client. I don't know what base, on what basis. And the third one is per the hourly, the tariff of hourly charge.
Yes, yes. All right.
So if we don't
Okay.
have a fee designated in the tariff, we can negotiate it on either of those,
On either of
any
those.
one of those.
All right.
Thank you
Okay.
very much, very
Thank you.
interesting.
Thanks.
Chair, I just want to make a first comment. You're a very confident speaker and you gave a good presentation. But there's one little thing that you omitted, which is becoming quite prevalent these days. You put up the title literature and you gave data, but you didn't say who and when
Yes, yes.
produced that data.
Exactly.
When it was
Yeah.
produced.
I realized that this... Oh, sorry.
I know in a presentation like this you don't have to give the whole, but if you're going to use data from somewhere else, you
Right.
must do
Okay, thanks. Yes, I apologize for that. I actually realized this morning when I saw some other people doing their presentations, they actually showed who the reference, showed the reference. I thought with the presentation so I apologize for that, but yes, thanks. I'll keep that into consideration for next time. Thank you.
I don't want to be disparaging in any way towards the council, but is there a possibility that when they use the term value management, that they were in any way actually meaning value engineering, that there was some confusion at the time of drawing up that statement?
Yes.
That there could have been some overlap or misunderstanding.
Yes.
And if that can be determined, because that would make a terrific difference to the whole outcome.
Exactly. I think that could have definitely been it, although the definition they gave of value management in the end of the tariff of professional fees was what value management is. So, but clearly, when I asked, especially on a lot of my other questions asked, like I mentioned earlier, the tools and things, it was clear that they saw value management. Generally, the quantity surveyors, the respondents, were referring rather to value engineering than value management. So, yes.
We still have a couple of minutes. Any other questions? Alan?
I think I did have a question there, but you may have just answered it. I just wanted to know whether you had actually allowed the respondents to define it at all.
Yes.
Rather than just you asking that question, whether they actually wrote it.
Yes, I actually thought of doing that as well. But I was able to determine whether, luckily through the rest of my questions, I was able to determine what they were referring to when they talked about value management. So, yes. All right, thank you
Thank you very
everyone.
much, Henno.
Thank you.